Cubs combined for a no-hitter. Let's go.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making us your first listen today. The best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, like the video, and comment anything below. Today's episode is presented by our great partner at Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Shota Imanaga, Nate Pearson, and Porter Hodge combined for a no-hitter on Wednesday as the Cubs crushed the Pirates 12-0. It was the 18th no-hitter in Cubs history, the first since 2021, and the first at Wrigley Field since 1972. Sam, the Cubs end up salvaging the Pirates series in historic fashion after dropping the first two.
What a wild night. I tweeted this out and I haven't gotten an answer yet. The Cubs were about an inch and a half away from, I don't know if this is true, but there's a good chance. I would assume there's never been a cycle and a no-hitter by the same team in the same game. Because if that PCA ball hits the chalk, there's a really good chance he probably gets 3 bases there. It was a really unique outing for Imanaga in the sense that after the second inning, they had Neely warming up.
Oh, that's right.
And we didn't really know, was there something going on physically for him? Was he not feeling well? Whatever it is. And through 2, he had walked a couple guys and it looked like he might be grinding. And then the next 5 innings were just absolutely flawless from him. He got a big lead. It was a much better hitting environment today. The ball carried for the Cubs and facing Domingo Germán instead of, Jones and Skeens sure made a difference. But it was a crazy night. I mean, Alex Cohen got a chance to sub in and called a lot of history. I mean, there was a real chance. I mean, first of all, it was a lot of history. They threw a no-hitter. And then, there was some stuff. There was more. Tellez pitched. The Cubs scored a bunch of runs.
Oh, my gosh. Again, he pitched. He pitched last week.
It was just a kind of a wild game. And, as far as the series goes, Matt, I think you and I think very similarly, when we go into series. I think we have a pretty similar philosophy. And I was thinking about this early, 4th, 5th inning when this game was out of reach, that outside of 1 inning, this series went exactly the way you and I thought it would go. You knew one of the first 2 games they were just going to have to grind away to win. It wasn't going to be runs galore. And then you felt really comfortable in game 3. So, I think in a vacuum, it's just one of those where if this was May or June, you'd say, all right, well, Lopez had a rough day and, it is what it is. But because of where the Cubs got put, it got magnified. And then, of course, today we'll talk about it, him going on the IL. But really special night. And to me, when I think about this combined no-hitter, I'm putting that in quotes. To me, it's a celebration of Imanaga and his success this year. He's been the Cubs' best pitcher. He's been the Cubs' best player. He's been their most consistent, both. And, he delivered again.
Yeah, he really did. And, this was the last game of that 18-game stretch. We'll talk about that later in the show, just because I have a couple theories as well, really coming up after these next 3 to 6 games. I do wonder what the Cubs could do, and I want to get your thoughts on that. Imanaga, 7 no-hit innings with 2 walks and 7 strikeouts. I thought that when he exited after the second, he had an issue that he had to take care of. So Neely was playing catch just in case.
Got it.
We can't talk about it much on the air.
That's what I figured as well.
So if the Cubs went down quietly, maybe he doesn't come back out and make history.
Got it.
In 26 starts this year, Imanaga has allowed more than 3 runs just 3 times.
Unbelievable.
And the Cubs are now 20-6 when he pitches.
And I think 13-1 after a loss or something like that, or 14-1.
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I saw that today too.
Yo, this guy's been the MVP of the team, right?
Easily.
Not even close,
It's
man.
not close. It's not close.
Aside from the last 3-4 weeks of PCA, the Cubs haven't had any players like Imanaga.
Well, aside from Wisdom.
Right. Right. Wisdom and against the A's in April of 2023. But no, I enjoyed this one. Cubs with 2 3-run innings, a couple 2-run innings in there, homers from Swanson, PCA, and Bellinger, 3 hit games from 3 guys, 2 hit games from 3 more guys. So, they really were in cruise control from an early point. Imanaga was sharper as the game went on, as you pointed out. And I didn't think anything of it when he exited after the 7th.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you might have.
No, I just want to make this point. There's a lot of people out there that are, debating should he be
Who is?
should he not?
Who's debating?
Michael.
You need to name it.
Michael Cerami wanted him to finish the game.
Okay.
Plenty of people wanted him to finish. I'm reading our comments. Why didn't he finish? Why didn't he finish?
And are people's TVs broke? Guys don't finish no-hitters anymore.
But see, so that's the point. So I just want to do this briefly. The debate isn't should have he finished? I can't even speak. Should he have finished or should he have not? The debate is how come it is now commonplace for guys not to finish anymore? And, 35, 40, 55, 60 years ago, guys threw 300 plus innings, no problem. And don't tell me they didn't throw as hard as Shota Imanaga and stuff like that. Fergie Jenkins threw 300 plus innings. Bob Gibson did so. Nolan Ryan's 77 years old, and I've heard he still throws 80 plus. That'd
actually be kind of cool to see.
And those guys were able to throw 300 innings plus. And now we're in this era of, like you said, you're right, Matt. Nobody does it anymore. And Craig Counsell, I don't blame him one bit, not sending him out there. The debate is, let's have a nuanced conversation by somebody that's way smarter than me going, hey, why are guys getting hurt so much? Why do we have to protect them so much? Because we sit here and talk about pace of play and all these things to make the game better. You know what's fun? Watching a guy throw a no-hitter at Wrigley Field. But he can't do that because that's not what happens anymore. But 60 plus years ago, Fergie Jenkins could throw 11 innings in a game. And he was throwing 97 plus. So that's food for thought for everybody out there. I'm not smart enough to answer that question.
Well, and I had quesadillas for dinner.
I am smart enough to propose it. Your thoughts on that, Matthew?
I can think of 2 words immediately, Sam. One is careful. And then the other non-PC word would be coddling.
Okay.
That's my response.
And I absolutely agree. And maybe it's something we think about.
Careful and coddling.
And maybe we think about, changing that.
Careful and coddling will be the name of our morning show launching January 2025.
Can I ask you a question before we talk about news and notes? Are you at all has it occurred to you that Dansby Swanson is essentially having the exact opposite season that he had last season?
No, it hasn't.
Last year, he was really good, basically through mid-August, and then completely fell off a cliff. This year, he was really bad, basically through mid-August, speaking offensively only here. And now he's been as good as anybody since the middle of August. Thoughts on that?
Well, it's weird because it throws out my theory in about 10, 12 minutes that they might shut him down after these next 3 games.
Okay.
Because he's improved. And we think there might be something bugging him with his knee. He's one of the examples that we'll talk about second segment of the Cubs waiting a little bit too long on some things this year, in particular when it comes to player health and injuries after the Steele and Lopez news, especially in the case of Lopez. But no, it didn't occur to me until you told me that. And, when people do this pairing of PCA Amaya, it really is Swanson, PCA Amaya, 7, 8, 9. And, it's pretty amazing in a unfortunate way that the Cubs played with, for a long time, 7 batters.
Yep.
And even those 7 batters, like 5 were average most of the year. And now they're playing with 9 batters and, probably 6, probably about the same, like 5, 6 average. And, it's like, look what happens. So, as we start to document the season more and more, I just think their slowness in nature in a number of different ways did cost them a spot in the playoffs, which was the goal.
Yep.
And, I personally don't like when people, Marquis does it all the time. They're like, oh, well, Amaya has stepped up and PCA and Swanson. It's like, no, Swanson's supposed to do this.
Right.
He didn't step up. He failed for a big part of the year. And he's doing what he's supposed to be doing now. Am I going in too hard on that?
No.
Well, how has he stepped up? He's a $177 million player. How is that stepping up? That's what you're supposed to do.
And I want to ask you, because you're really doing well with this. We flipped roles. I'd like to ask you one more question, just briefly. Yeah. The Cubs, obviously, most likely 99%, 98% will not make the postseason.
Right.
Are you, and I'm not asking this to be facetious. I think I need to stop talking.
Okay.
And
you can't, because it's a talk show.
I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I'm not even trying to set you up. I'm genuinely asking.
Go Cubs.
Would you take any solace in the fact that the Cubs...
Well, it's solace, I believe.
Did I say... I'm telling you.
You said solstice or something.
It's a bad take.
Would you take any pride in the fact if the Cubs do finish with like an 86, 87 win season, but don't make it, because that's right where we had them pegged before the season? Go ahead.
No.
Okay.
Because then I have to do an Excel sheet of the 29 blown games that they had. And then I have to stare at those until March. What game do you want it to pick that they blew? No, there's no solace in that or solstice, because
no, I'd like to take a long.
That's just going to put salt in the wound.
I need to get my speech checked out.
Okay.
So
I've
been having some vision issue. Very little concerned, but go ahead.
Coming up next, a couple players placed on the IL.
Solace, isn't that like some sort of seasonal thing? Like a winter solace?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, man.
Coming up next, the 2 players were placed on the IL. We talk about it next.
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 players stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the Prize Picks community today. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. The experience of playing with Prize Picks is so simple and fun. This Sunday, Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss the deal on Prize Picks because it's gone when September ends. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. This Sunday, folks, Prize Picks. Run your game.
Cubs play the Yankees, the Bronx Bombers, at 1:20 p.m. Central Friday, and you can hear every pitch of the Cubs' hometown broadcast on Sirius XM by searching Cubs on the SXM app. And wanted to let everybody know once again that we will be live on Saturday, 11 to 1, for a pregame hangout at Almost Home in Wrigleyville. It's down the street from the ballpark, kitty corner of Obvious Shirts there, 3801 North Clark Street. Hope to see a lot of our listeners and viewers there. Almost Home, 11 to 1 on Saturday. Unfortunately, we will not be going to the game, but we will be in the area. Justin Steele and Jorge Lopez were placed on the IL on Wednesday with elbow tendonitis and a groin strain, respectively. Craig Counsell said both pitchers could still appear for the Cubs again this year. Steele not pitching again might actually be the best move for the team, for the future of the team, I think. And Lopez, who missed over a week while being on the active roster, then pitched twice, with one being an abysmal failure, being placed on the IL after the fact is just the latest, Sam, in transactions the Cubs were late on. It was Swanson in the spring. Perhaps you can include Alzolay in there. Merriweather's the most recent one. So injury news again on Wednesday.
When I found out about the Lopez news, I had a water bottle right to the right of my foot as I was working, and I kicked it across my living room. That's frustrating.
Makes sense.
Because I thought it was pretty clear from my laptop screen on Saturday that he did not look comfortable.
And by the way, that was on Saturday that you said that.
Yes. And I wasn't the only one. It did take some sort of Sherlock Holmes experiment to see that he was walking around the mound. His velocity was down. His command
gave him a clue.
Yeah, his command didn't look good. Another misspeak by me. And then he goes out there Monday, gets shelled, and basically crushes any momentum we had, and then gets put on the IL. Example number 674 of this organization reacting too late.
They're slow.
Instead of anticipating something and getting out in front of it before it hurts the team on the field. As far as Steele goes, pretty expected. Just like I said, no structural damage. They reported a little elbow tendonitis. That's fine. I would like to see him in March in Japan for the opener. The next time we see him pitch a meaningful game. That's just my take.
What's the % chance that he pitches this month?
I don't want to do that.
Okay. We'll bring that segment back in the offseason. That segment's called 0 to 100. Jack Neely's back in a corresponding move, and Trey Wingenter, who struck out 16 in 9 innings at AAA after being claimed from the Red Sox last month, is up for the first time. So that's great. And Matt Shaw, Sam, returned to the AAA lineup on Wednesday after missing time following an injury of his own from a defensive play at shortstop. So nice to see him. And that's basically the show. So no, only kidding.
Yeah, great to see Shaw back. I mean, I think Matt Shaw, if he has a strong finish, how much more time's left in AAA?
Well, no, I think he would be a candidate to make it in March.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I think he has a chance outright to make team, especially depending on what the Cubs do in the offseason with Horner or Bush. I think I think there's a chance. I would say that
they might do something with both.
There's a close to 50% chance that one of those guys is traded in the offseason.
I think it's more.
Yeah, and that's going to raise a lot of eyebrows because for whatever reason, whenever I float out anything about Bush, I get, people get really offended by that. I like Michael Bush. He's been But it's to the level now. I expected him to be about a 785, 790 OPS guy. Said that on their show, and now he's even below that. So I can't even sit here and go, oh, he's been exactly what I expected. But
you said either Horner or Bush, right?
Yes.
I would say 60 to 65%.
One of those guys.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll see like Caleb Killian at all? Let's steal.
Yeah, I think Killian's a candidate, and who are some other 40-man guys? I think that's really it.
Well, we don't have a ton of pitchers. A lot of our main guys. I mean, our rotation now.
Right, there's too many injuries.
Our rotation down the stretch is going to be something along the lines of Imanaga, Tyone, Assad, Hendricks, Wicks.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I think really with Neely coming up today, I think the only 40-man candidates that would just be swapped for someone the rest of the year are Killian and maybe Kevin Alcantara. And then outside chance at Owen Casey, but they'd have to take somebody off.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts on that.
Now I'm back to
all right, well, coming up next, I want to go over a few things with the rest of the year. And we do that coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by Ibotta. Welcome to our great partners. Welcome back to our great partners over there. Ibotta is a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items, and groceries to beauty supplies to toys. So you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, you just add your offers in the app, upload your receipts, and get real cash that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Join the over 50 million savers and earn cash back every time you shop from over 2,000 brands and retailers, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying it by using code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the Apple or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back by using code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Ibotta, IBOTTA, and use code Locked On MLB. All right, Wednesday was the last game of the 18-game stretch against inferior teams. Cubs finished 13-5. Going back 2 months now to July 4th, Cubs are 33-20, still 4.5 games out of the third wild card spot with a 1% chance to make the playoffs, according to Fangraphs. The next 6 games, the Cubs host the Yankees for 3 and then at the Dodgers for 3. And then there's only 16 games left after that. Okay, here's a couple things here. One is, again, I just think that even entering the week, you could make a case easily. The Cubs were chasing the impossible with the 7% odds.
Yeah.
But we carried hope, right? Because we're diseased.
Well, and those odds implied that the Braves are probably going to sweep the Rockies. So we were hoping maybe if they dropped 1 or 2, we were hoping. Right.
Now it's 1%. Braves are legit.
Yeah.
Listen, Brewers are not going to beat Sale, Lopez, and Fried. Right?
We're talking about
you think the Brewers beat Sale, Lopez, and Fried in October?
Oh, like a playoff series.
That's who they play. That's who plays each other.
No, but don't count out the Mets yet because they're really hot.
And I'm not. They're a half game back. I can see them hitting their way there.
Yeah,
that's what they've been doing basically. Lindor, Alonso, others. So
yeah. Francisco Lindor's crawled into the MVP conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And next 6 against 2 World Series contenders, right?
Sure.
I don't even know if I want to play with like a record over that 6.
Nah.
I just think there's a chance after these 6 that we see some movement, like Steele shut down for sure.
Yep.
Maybe a DFA there, a demotion there, a couple promotions here.
Yeah.
What do you think? Because after this stretch, there's only 2 weeks left.
Something there, you know what I mean?
Right.
I think you're right. I'm excited. I think it's always exciting to get a chance to play the Yankees and Dodgers. I think there's 4. When you talk about the history of the franchise, you talk about the Cubs, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, just baseball. Those are the big 4 for me. So I'm excited to match those guys up. I'll preview that series for Friday because this Yankees team is basically since June, they've been a really bad team. They're like 10 under or 9 under.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, it's like, I was telling some people this today, like, hey, what are the Cubs? Somebody asked me, hey, if the Cubs win out this week, are they back in it? Well, no, they need the Braves and Mets to lose.
Exactly.
They're not back in it. They wouldn't be back in it unless they got within like 2 games with like 6, 7 to go because they don't even have the tie break. So,
right.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't recall a time recently where I've been in a position where you're not mathematically out, technically, but what does winning actually do? I don't know how I'm gonna approach this. I agree with you. I think the Cubs will start being cautious. Mm-hmm. I don't know. We don't know who's battling injuries, who's not. Guys want to finish their year. They want to hit their numbers. I definitely see Steele getting shut down if the Cubs don't make a series. If they don't basically sweep here this weekend. I definitely see, I wonder what they do with Imanaga. That's a good question. He's pitched a ton of innings. You can manage his innings, but you need somebody to get outs. But, I'd love to see some young guys come up and finish the rest of the way. And, I don't know. I think I'm on the same wavelength as you, though. I think after these next two series, and then you go to Coors Field, you might see some changes.
And maybe just that last 3 to 6 games is like really up in the air.
Yeah.
But I think maybe there's a chance it's even before that.
Cool.
So, all right, we'll be at Almost Home Saturday, 11 to 1 in Wrigleyville. Please join us there. Swing by even just for a few minutes. Say hello. We'll be having the great food there at Almost Home, and really hoping to enjoy that. Cubs Yankees this weekend. I agree, Sam. The two of the big four in this sport, and some cool history between them. So excited for you to preview that coming up later on.
And a no-hitter. Celebrate it if you'd like.
No-hitter.
First since 1972 when Milt Pappas threw. Now, I could be wrong on this historically, but I believe in that game, Milt Pappas had a perfecto going, and he walked a guy and got squeezed.
I remember hearing that.
I think that's right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, first one at Wrigley since 72, 18th in franchise history. Imanaga, Pearson, and Hodge. Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs. You give us 20 to 30 minutes. We'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or two along the way. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube as we make the push to 11,000 subs. Smash the like button for the algorithm and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts. All right. No hitter. Cubs Pirates. Cubs win. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.